Okay. First of all, I'd like to begin by thanking you for coming out today, Scott. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate your service.
Thank you.
My name is Rob Carpenter. I'm with United Way of the Lakeshore, and I'm here today with Scott Karaptain. The date is April 24th, 2026. The other people that are present in the room is Kelly Lutzinger and
Chris Karaptain.
Chris Karpathian. The interview is being conducted for the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, and we'll go ahead and get started today. First of all, Scott, I'd like to start with where you were born.
I was born on the east side of Michigan, Garden City, Michigan.
Okay.
1963.
1963. What date?
September 23rd, 1963.
Very nice. Who are your parents?
Bob Karaptain and Rosemarie Karaptain.
And what did they do for a living?
My father was an industrial electrician, and my mother, she started her career in the east side of Detroit as a UPS driver. Then we ended up moving to the middle of the state to Jackson, Michigan, southeast Michigan, where my father was still working as an industrial electrician for the automotive industry, and my mother worked in the factories.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have any brothers or sisters?
Two older brothers, Rory, my oldest brother, and Mike, who's right above me, and I have a younger sister, Cheryl.
Were either of them in the service?
Rory was in the Army. He, I couldn't tell you the years, probably 1982, did his 4 years, and he was a helicopter crew chief with the military, and my father actually was a Marine also.
What years was your dad in the Marine?
I could not tell you the years.
That's okay.
And my grandfather was actually in the Army Air Guard. He was a tail gunner with the Army Air Guard during the World War II era, but I don't think he ever was in combat itself.
Okay. Do you know what type of aircraft he was?
I don't.
Was it?
I don't.
Okay. All right. When you joined the service, what did your family think of that?
This is a pretty funny story, actually. I was in the Army National Guard. But at the time, I was a sophomore in college and pretty much first-generation college student, and we were running out of funds to finish school. And my mother jokingly sent me a news ad, join the National Guard or earn money for school. So I did that. I went and talked to him, and I enlisted. And then after I got done, I called my mother and said, well, I did it. And she said, you did what? I said, I enlisted. And tears and the sobbing, what did you do that for? I was only joking.
Oh, no.
So, and that was in 1983.
In 1983.
Yes, and so I signed up and enlisted into the 156 Signal Battalion out of Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Okay. When you signed up, how did your siblings feel about that?
I don't think it mattered one way or the other.
Didn't care
No.
one way or the other. Yeah. So your primary and secondary schools were?
My primary, everything's civilian education.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we started out my civilian education in Melvindale, Michigan, through 9th grade, and then we moved to Jonesville, Michigan, where I graduated in 1981.
Okay.
And then I ended up going to Western Michigan University for my bachelor's and master's.
Okay.
And then I received my specialist degree from Grand Valley State and PhD from Eastern Michigan University in 2017.
Oh, that's very impressive.
Thank you.
What part of that did you sign up for was it the ROTC program?
Never did ROTC.
Never did that?
No, just regular 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in the summer.
Okay, for the.
Enlisted,
Okay.
yes. And that was during my undergraduate work.
Okay.
And I was a industrial arts teacher.
Okay. All right.
Woodshop major, general industrial arts minor.
Very nice. So how would you say that education helped you in the military?
I think the military might have helped me more with education than
Okay.
education with the military.
Okay.
It was kind of a good marriage, if you will. Obviously, the military gave me the opportunity to continue to pursue my education during my bachelor's as well as my post bachelor degrees with the post 9/11 GI Bill.
Okay.
But through the military experience, it also helped me with self-discipline and just self-confidence and drive to continue to finish them all.
Okay. So when you were with the National Guard then, that was when you were going to Western?
Yes,
Okay, all right. And that was for to get your bachelor's degree at the time?
yes,
Okay,
at the
very
time,
good.
yes.
All right. So once you got through with your initial bachelor's degree, is that then when you went into the service full-time?
I never went to service full-time. It was Army National Guard, the complete
The complete
21
time?
years, except for the 1 year deployment
Okay.
in Iraq from 2003 to 2004. The rest of it was all National Guard
It was all
time.
National Guard service. Okay, very good. Can you tell us when you first went into the National Guard and that process of enlisting in the National Guard, please?
So, like I said, initially, enlisted to help with the college experience to finish college, and it was kind of a nervous experience as well, but it was also an exciting experience going through the basic training and the advanced individual training, AIT. I did my basic training at Fort Dix, New Jersey. Then immediately went to Fort Gordon, Georgia for advanced training, in which was we were a communications unit, a signal unit out of Kalamazoo, and I actually had to do the AIT twice because when I first went in, they told me that I would be able to get my basic and AIT in time for fall semester at Western, which wasn't the case.
Oh,
So I got halfway through AIT and I wasn't going to make it, and then I had to jump through a lot of hoops to get pulled out of AIT so I could enroll in the fall semester, and then the whole next spring I had to go do AIT all over again from
okay.
start to finish. So yeah.
Excuse me a little bit, but
Sure.
I'm not sure with the terminology so much. What does AIT stand
AIT
for?
is your advanced individual training, so that's where you learn your skill or your craft,
Okay,
your trade. So
The-
which at the time I was a lineman,
Okay.
so a lineman school.
sure,
Yeah.
sure. So when you were going through basic, do you remember any instructors or anything? Does anything stand out in your mind?
Well, it was a blessing and a curse at the same time that I had some college experience behind me, because I went in and I was immediately an E3, which was a private first class, because I had some college experience. The curse part is that they put you in leadership roles right from the beginning. So I was brought on as a squad leader to begin with, and then there was an issue with the platoon guide at the time. Our platoon guide at the time did a little bit, and then unfortunately during one of our exercises, he tried to commit suicide and shot himself in the stomach during one of our bivouacs, and then I was promoted to the platoon guide after that. So pretty much for the remaining part of our basic training, I was a platoon guide, which I was pretty much the first one up and the last one to bed to make sure everybody was squared away for training and after training. And one of the experiences I do remember, I've never slept walk a day in my life, but I do remember at one point in time sleepwalking to the platoon sergeant's office in the middle of the night, still in my civvies, in my underwear, walking down the hallway. Woke up and where am I? Right, standing out right in front of his office, ready to report. Like, so, but that was one of the ones I do remember. But the experience itself, it was all really good experience. I was an athlete in high school as well, so I was a wrestler in high school. So I trained quite well before I went to basic training. So it was pretty easy for me physically, right?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the hardest part was probably the 9-mile forced march, which developed a lot of large blisters on the heels, like at least 3/4 of the way through, and we weren't going to quit, so we just finished through it.
Did you develop any good relationships with your fellow soldiers?
I did at the time there, and could I remember anybody's name at this point in time? I couldn't, because way too long ago, and never kept in touch after that. And because we all went our separate ways after basic training. Everybody goes to their normal duty station, and I was National Guard there. Most of them were regular Army, so I went back home and they went to their duty stations.
Sure. And where was your base?
Fort Dix, New Jersey.
Fort Dix.
Yeah.
And that was the Army, correct?
Correct. Everybody does the same basic training in AIT. It's all full-time at that time, regular Army.
Makes no difference.
Makes no difference.
Okay. And why did you choose Army, or is that what your mom sent you?
Well, that's just what Mom sent me. So we just went where the ad took us. It was, my dad wasn't too happy with it because he was a Marine.
Okay.
And I was at Western and he was a Michigan State person, so
Okay.
he thought I was defying him every step of the way. You go Army, I was Marines. You went Western, I was Michigan State. At least I didn't go to U of M. That would have been really a worse curse
That'd
word.
have been bad.
Yes.
So when you went through, you talked about your training a little bit, and that was lineman training. Can you
Yes.
explain a little bit in detail what type of training that was for us?
Well, lineman we were basically, back in the day, I guess I'm gonna date myself, you guys would probably understand a little bit, but Michigan Bell, Ma Bell.
Sure.
So we were the Ma Bell of the military. We provided all of the telephone capability, so we ran phone lines and climbed poles and phone lines to make sure that everybody could communicate. Now, when we deployed, it was a different thing because there weren't linemen at that time. Technology advanced a little bit, and before we deployed, I was a remote access unit, and so it was a little bit different. We didn't even have that when I deployed, because a remote access unit, we were a six-man team out in the middle of nowhere with no military support. So out in the middle of the desert with no fortified position or any extra armament, it was a no-go. So they said, okay, we're not doing that. So we got redistributed into different teams, and
Okay.
that was more of a line of sight communications instead of hardwire.
Okay.
The hardwiring aspect was when you were in garrison, and we provided all the tactical telephone and internet in theater at that time, which was the largest signal network in military history during that time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How much did the technology change during your time in service?
Did not seem like it changed very much at all.
Okay.
Actually, when we got in country, we were using our flak vest, our bulletproof vest, if you will, was from the Korean War or Vietnam era, and it was basically filled with sand. We didn't have the armor plating, and we did not get those until we were several months in country.
Okay. And what year was that you were in country?
2003 to 2004,
Okay.
as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom.
Okay.
And then nowadays, even now, the signal capability is all satellite network, so it's not as antique as what we had.
When you were in there, yeah. What was your most, I guess if you had to tell a couple stories of your training, what would you say was the funnest part of your training?
Well, every summer, well, in the National Guard portion, before our deployment, every summer we went to our annual training, so we did 2 weeks annual training, and we'd go to Camp Grayling for 2 weeks annual training, and my wife would call it summer camp. We're going to summer camp, so she was stuck back home working, and we were playing in the woods most of the time, so but we always enjoyed that, the camaraderie. It's just the people and the task, so doing what we did and doing it with friends was pretty enjoyable.
Okay. And that was Camp Grayling in Michigan,
Camp
correct?
Grayling in Michigan,
Okay.
yes. While in the Guards, 2 other locations that we did our annual training. We went to the UP one year, and I was stationed at Lime Island in the UP for the 2 weeks doing signal training, and then we went to Fort McCoy, Wisconsin 1 year, and the rest of it was all done at Camp Grayling.
Okay. What would you say would be the worst part of that experience?
Always just the living arrangements, I guess. You're staying in a tent, no running water, no, our food was being shipped to us, and so, or either that or you're eating your MREs, which are meals ready to eat, out of a bag, dirty. The showers weren't regular.
Okay.
And so I think some of that, and obviously when the deployment part, some of the same things, but worse.
Okay.
Far less living arrangement comforts, running water. We lived in a tent. I lived in a tent pretty much 3/4 of my deployment, and then I think maybe the last month we were there, I got to stay in one of the buildings at Baghdad International Airport. But most of the time it was in a tent, and again, you take for granted the small things, a bed, which was at my time a cot with a piece of plywood on it to keep it flat. Most of the time the showers was a hose if you had the luxuries of that. Just green grass and everything else, and then missing family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you able to contact your loved ones at home very often?
That was the beauty of our MOS, which is our occupation, being the ones in charge of the telephones. I talk to my wife every night,
Wow.
and I talk to my kids on the weekends because of the time difference. So
Sure.
it really helped the reintegration process.
Yeah.
And actually, one of the funny stories is my wife had me ground my daughter, who was in ninth grade at the time, from Iraq.
I wonder if that was a first.
I'm not sure, but it was for us for sure.
That's a funny story. When you were going through training, was there any instructors that kind of stand out in your mind from the things you learned from them?
I think one of the ones that stuck out to the most was basic training, and his name was Staff Sergeant Ayin, and I couldn't tell you how to spell it. It would be in the yearbook that I left behind, but
Sure.
he was from Barbados.
Oh, no kidding.
And it was just a very cool and hard-nosed drill instructor, but he was good. He was fair, and he motivated you and wanted to make sure that you succeeded and
Yeah.
put the drive in you. And
Yeah.
so yeah, he was I definitely gravitated towards.
How often do you think of him?
Not so much until now.
Okay.
And then once we left basic training, it probably left my mind pretty quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. What was your first assignment after basic?
To go back to the home duty station, which was in Kalamazoo, Michigan,
Mhm.
which was the 156 Signal Battalion out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. Being in the National Guard, we went home after our training, and then you stayed home stationed until your 2-week training or whether you got deployed anywhere.
Okay.
And during that time in there, we did our annual training, but there were times that we pulled security for certain events, or you do civilian cleanup during disasters, if you will. There's a lot of time we pulled security for certain events at airfairs and state or county fairs, or parades in town during Veterans Day and things of that nature.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So because you were in the Guard, you had a different job.
I had a civilian life and a military
Civilian
so
life, okay.
Dual life.
Dual
yes,
life,
dual
yes.
roles.
What was your civilian job?
I was a teacher. So
Okay.
I was a high school teacher, wood shop drafting, and coached wrestling and softball. And in '99, I left the 99-2000 school year. I left teaching to become an administrator. My first role was an assistant principal at Coloma High School, and I did that for a year, and then came back to Parchment High School where I was teaching. Became the assistant principal there. We were living 50 miles away from Coloma at the time, so I was traveling 50 miles one way, so 100 miles a day.
Yeah.
And so that became quite tiring, if you will. And so we decided that either we were going to move to the Coloma area or find a job closer to home, and then Parchment opened back up and hired me as their assistant principal. And so I was their assistant principal until I deployed in 2003.
Okay.
And then when I came back in 2004, they promoted me to the principal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So when you were doing your dual role, going back and forth, were there things that you learned in the military that you would use in your civilian career and vice versa?
Definitely a split personality. And my dad wanted me to become an officer, which I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed working and I enjoyed being with people. But I think the biggest thing was self-discipline and self-confidence. I think the thing that I struggled with most prior to that, and even through my adult life, was confidence and self-confidence was one of the biggest things, and I think that really helped with that, and with becoming a leader and helping running a classroom to coaching. And I retired as an assistant, as a superintendent and K-12 principal. So I think without the military and giving me the discipline and the self-confidence I needed, none of that I don't think would have happened.
That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. Did you have to qualify with any specific, like specialized equipment or anything like that for your?
Pretty much everything that we did. Obviously, you had your weapons qualification, so you had to qualify with your M16 A1 rifle. That's what I had, and During basic training, you fired other things, but that wasn't your main weapons, just to give you an experience on the M60 or the M203 law, anti-tank weapon, things of that nature. And then all of the radio equipment, we had to be specialized trained, and that was all, you had to have a security clearance for that because that was all encrypted information that obviously gave away a lot of secure information. So we had to have safety clearance to be able to operate all of that. So all of that was done through Fort Gordon, Georgia.
Okay. Okay. Did you spend a lot of time in your having to learn all those different equipment?
Yes, because it morphed over the years, it changed. And so, like I said, initially I came on as a lineman, and then they started getting away from line communications, and then we went to line of sight. And so I was no longer climbing poles. We were running cable and wire, but became line of sight and putting up antennas back and forth. So I had to learn how to use that equipment. And then we went to, actually it was troposphere. We used tropo towers and dishes first that would bounce a signal off the troposphere, and then there'd be another antenna on the other side to receive. So each location had to have a receive and a send antenna. So we had to learn all that information, and as that signal came into our rigs, we had to learn how to capture that, if you will, and then send it and be able to turn it into regular voice communication.
Sure.
And so through the troposphere, and then to the line of sight is what we used when we were in Iraq. And like I said, initially I was a remote access unit, and then we got out of that, and then I was attached and became in charge of a small extension node team, which again, we were attached several times throughout the deployment to different units who needed signal. And when they would move, we would get attached, we'd tear down and get moved and attached to a different unit that either would come in their place, or were assigned to another location.
Okay. So you guys were kind of separate entities that.
The whole time I was deployed in Iraq, I pretty much stayed with my team, my 6-person team. We weren't with the whole unit anywhere else. We were assigned to another unit, and we were on the outside. We were actually part of their unit either, so we were just kind of our own entity.
Okay.
But they fed us and gave us whatever provisions we needed at the time.
Sure.
As well. But yeah.
Okay. Okay. Did you receive any promotions when you were in the service?
Yes, I started as an E3, as I said, because I went in with some college experience, and then I was promoted at the end to the rank of E6 staff sergeant.
Okay.
So E3 is specialist to E5 sergeant to E6 staff sergeant.
And are you still in the National Guard? Have you?
I'm retired.
You're retired.
I retired in 2004.
Okay.
When I came back from Iraq, my wife said, "We're done. It's enough." She raised, pretty much raised two young kids by herself through that whole year. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
You were keeping us all safe.
Yes, we like to think so.
Yeah. So the next set of questions I want to talk to you about a little bit is more about just specifically your time in Iraq. If you could explain that to us.
Sure.
What part of the country? Where did you serve?
So when we first got into country, we all started in Kuwait, and that's where we did our acclimatization to the weather. So we were in the Kuwait area for about a month to get used to the temperatures, which were in excess of 100. I think one of the funniest things I remember, it wasn't too funny at the time, I guess, but we're getting off the plane in the middle of the night and getting on the tarmac and thinking, man, it's got to be hot just because of the asphalt and everything else in the plane, and it was 110 plus at the time, and think, well, it's just because they're on the tarmac. And so we get close to the tent, so it's still hot. This is just the fact of life now. It's just hot. So
just getting there.
Yeah.
How did you get there?
We flew on a civilian airplane, but it was all military personnel on the plane. So yeah, and it was about a 24-hour flight. I think we refueled in, I don't know, so I want to say Switzerland. I don't know if that's correct or not. I don't remember if that's quite location or not, but at the time, for the refuel, we could get up and stretch our legs, but we could not get off the plane or put our feet on their soil because of neutral soil.
Okay.
So we could not, they had a certain spot at the airport that cordoned off that we couldn't go any further than this. And those who smoked, they opened, let them go down the steps, but they could not step on the tarmac because it was neutral soil, and so we couldn't violate that. And then, like I said, we flew into Kuwait, and then the fun began.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you feel when you, like when I know you told me it was hot,
Yes.
but how did you feel like when you were on your way there and when you first got there?
Excited and nervous all at the same time.
Yeah.
You have fear, but you have excitement, but you also wondered, okay, we've been training for this for nearly 20 years. Can I do and can we do and perform as well as we trained to do during the real deal, and which we did. And we've never had an issue, and we had no injuries, no fatalities for the whole time. We all came home safe and uninjured, physically anyways. But yeah, it was a good experience. I wouldn't turn it away, but I don't want to do it again.
Sure.
Yeah.
What was your role? I mean, were you combat support, or more of a
We were combat support.
combat support?
Yeah. Like I said, we provided all the communication.
Sure.
Nobody could communicate with us without us. So the mortar rounds couldn't be shot, called in. The locations, the movements, all had to go through communications, and we provided that capabilities for all the other units in theater.
Sure. How did your experience when you were in Iraq, how did that change you?
A lot. Humbled for sure. Put a lot of things in perspective. You really realize the things that you took for granted.
Yeah.
The small, simple things in life. Like I said, the conveniences, but family, wife, kids.
Yeah.
I was like I said, during my civilian life, I was a teacher and a coach, and I was going to school and wasn't home a lot.
Yeah.
And I think some of the things I had a lot of regret was you get home after a long day and your kids wanted to play and you felt like you're too tired to play. And it was tough.
Yeah.
So I vowed to be more attentive. And faith, reunited with my faith. I started reading the Bible every day, daily devotions, and read the Bible cover to cover from the time we got into Iraq, which is right around July, and actually finished it Thanksgiving Day in 2003. But also, I think about the magnitude of that rebirth, if you will, for me. Being reconnected with my faith, where it all started.
Yeah.
The Tigris, Euphrates in the Middle East, and so I think stronger faith, and hopefully I take far less for granted than I did before I left.
It's a good lesson to teach others, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you make friends? Make good friends when you were over there?
Absolutely, you had to.
Yeah.
You had to make friends, and again, I was in charge of a 6-person team.
Okay.
Being one of the oldest there, most of them were kids. Some of them 18 years old. Wet behind the ears, as we call them, and full of energy and no fear. But you relied on it, and so you had to trust one another, and you made good friends. And but one of the things I guess I'm going to just refer back to is I told my wife when I left I wasn't going to do anything stupid. I wasn't going to take any risks, and so if there was something that I was asked to do that wasn't mission essential, I wasn't going to do it.
Right.
And so there was a time where I got into it with my platoon sergeant a little bit because we were not a combat unit, and there were times where other units needed more bodies to make up a convoy because you had to have a certain amount of vehicles in a convoy, a certain amount of guns in a vehicle. So we said, well, we need more bodies to go. And I had younger kids who wanted to go, and I was like, take one of them, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And I said, well, you're going. Like, nope, I'm not. So you can write me up right now, I'll sign it for you right here, but I made a vow, and if it's not mission essential, I'm not going.
Yeah.
So I didn't. And
Yeah.
he still remembers that he made me go. I'm like, well, you tried to, but I didn't go. But yeah, you need to rely on each other, and you draw a close bond with certain individuals, people that you can really connect with.
Mhm.
I think that I've had some close relationships with a few people. I don't really keep in contact with a whole lot anymore, just because of time and space, and it was over 20 years ago, and
Sure.
everybody moved around, and I'm not near where we all deploy from anymore. So, but yeah, made some real connections with people.
Yeah. So how important was that to you when you're on your day-to-day living when you were over there?
It was vital.
Yeah.
I mean, you still needed to trust one another, and you need to rely on each other, even though we were what you'd call it in the rear with the gear. You were usually in a compound, but there was danger everywhere you went.
Right.
And I think one of the things that was pretty incredible for me, and you took for granted as well, is when you first got into theater in the area, the gunfire and the explosions, you hear 24/7. You first get there, you're just kind of like, oh shoot, how close is that one? How close is that one? And after about a month or so of time, you don't even pay attention to it anymore. You just becomes normal.
Into it,
And
yeah.
so, but it was all around you, and so you couldn't take that for granted. You had to make sure that everybody was paying attention, that you cared for each other, you trusted each other, you watched each other's back. So
Mhm.
yeah, you needed to make sure you had good relationships with everybody there.
Good.
And that I had to make sure that brought everybody home safe.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, having all those kids working for you, you felt responsible for them, I take it.
100%,
Yeah.
100%, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were like dad.
Yes. A lot of sleepless nights, and there some that were not necessarily grounding from a phone, but there was some consequences for some while there too.
Yeah.
There were some heated arguments with some kids, just not taking things serious, and
Yeah.
needed to remember to do that.
So you explained that you were able to contact your wife and talk to your kids on the weekends. Did the guys that were working with you and for, did they have that same opportunity?
Yes,
Yeah.
everybody in our unit, if you will, in the 156 Signal Battalion, that's what we did. We provided the communications for everybody, so we had access to it. And so in my shelter, my van that I operate when I was on my 12-hour shift, you're just in yourself with all the equipment, all the phone equipment. So when it was my shift, I'd make a phone call.
Yeah, nice.
And so I think it was midnight my time, and 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning for
Yeah.
her. So
Yeah.
So yeah, that was absolutely vital for
Yeah.
mental health, and being able to come home and being able to adjust
Yeah,
a lot easier.
that's good.
Yeah.
You described the heat.
Oh,
So was that like 24/7, or was there any way you could get out of it?
not so much. Initially, when we first got into Kuwait, it was 118 plus. I think there's some days it was 130. And when we first got into Kuwait, Qatar area, we were set up in our tents in the middle of the desert that you really couldn't see anything around you. And unfortunately, the tent that we had, it was called a GP medium or GP large, I'm sorry, would fit about 20 guys in it, and we had a hole in the ceiling. That's how old our equipment was. And when the dust storms come in, everything's just all dusty, and it sticks to everything, including yourself. Hot, dusty. Yeah, 118, 120 was the norm most of the part. And when we convoyed up to Iraq, which was about an 18-hour convoy overnight, we'd pull over someplace for the night and just rally the trucks around and sleep on top of the vehicles or wherever you could.
Mhm.
It doesn't cool off at night, not in this desert.
Yeah.
You'd wake up in a pool of sweat on your cot or whatever else. And my wife actually worked with a friend who was in Vietnam and gave her a tip to give me about take your bed sheet and get it wet and lay on that because that'll help keep your body cool during the time. So you're able to do that.
Did that help?
It did help.
Good.
It did help. It was good advice. We did not get. They did have air conditioning units that we could put in our tent. I mean, it was a small GP round tent and leaks everywhere. But we were probably, I don't know, maybe 3-4 months in theater before we got the ability to have air conditioning.
Sure.
But we fired those up with our own generators because we had our own generators. Our vehicles were generators, so we would power them through our generators. But it was a while before we got that. So, but you were able to get it after a while. Yeah.
After a while, you were able to get and it helped a little bit.
It helped a little bit, yes, for sure. Yeah.
Nice. What kind of things did you do for recreation over there, if there was such a thing?
I did not do a whole lot. That was my own choice. I told myself, I'm here to work to get a job done. I'm not here to have fun. So I would not. They had some USO shows. So one of the areas that we were, well, most of the areas we were at were compounds, if you will. So one of the areas we were at in Baghdad area, Camp Victory, was Saddam's palace compound. So it was really hunting and fishing grounds for the Ba'ath Party. And so it was fortified walls all the way around. Had many different countries, NATO countries and other units there. So they're able to bring in USO shows for some entertainment. But I let my guys go.
Sure.
Or my soldiers, because I had female soldiers as well. So if it came during their shift, I would take their shift so they could go. Just I wasn't there to have fun.
Yeah.
So I just kept my vision, tunnel vision, if you will. I had a job to do, and I'm just going to do that until it's time to go home.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
Understandable.
yeah. I guess what I did for fun was take walks and try to keep fit and get up when it was quiet, if you will, and just take a quiet walk around and try to keep my head clear.
Yeah. You mentioned that there were soldiers there from other NATO countries. Did you ever have a chance to meet them or chat with them at all? Or
Yeah, we did get some time off, and there were some of the areas that had swimming pools, and so one of the Australian units had an area that had a pool, so they would allow us to go in there and swim.
Yeah.
I didn't really connect with a lot of them there, but we obviously got to swim there. In the mess hall, y'all would use the same mess hall. I mean, there's several throughout the area, but I met some Azerbaijani soldiers that I talked with during chow there, and when I I didn't get to get leave during the whole time, but I did get 4 days of rest and relaxation, R&R. We flew to Qatar, and we flew on a Singapore aircraft, a C-130 that was from Singapore, and I just met one of the crew chiefs there and talked to him for a bit while we were flying or when we were getting fuel or repairs or whatever. So or when you were doing duty around certain areas, you would talk to some of the Iraqi civilians. I guess the best friends that I made when I was in the Fallujah area, there was an Iraqi food hall there, or restaurant, if you will, on base there. I'm an Armenian background and a Lebanese uncle, and so Mediterranean food was what I grew up on. It was my favorite. So I befriended the Iraqi cooks there to get me my hummus and my falafel and my grape leaves and whatever there. So I would make friends with them and get homemade pita on the stone
Oh,
ovens
yum.
with sesame
Yum.
seeds on it and your Turkish tea out there. So yeah, I knew to make friends with it.
Smart man.
Yes.
That's interesting. Was there anything that you did for good luck while you were there?
Um, I was given St. Christopher's Medal by one of our neighbors before I went. And in one of our care packages, I received a daily devotional. That was another soldier's, I think it was World War II maybe.
Yeah,
And I read from that every day. I would not go to sleep before I read it.
before you read it.
Yeah, so that was, became a routine thing, and just that was, yeah, no better than luck than having him on your side.
Having somebody else on your side, absolutely.
Yes.
What was of your time that you were in country? What was would you say your best experiences were?
I think the experience itself is all rewarding. You're meeting other people, other units, being able to have 6 people that don't know anybody and being attached to another unit that you don't know anybody from that unit, and be able to communicate and be able to provide a service to them without flaw, and to be able to perform at that level and be that successful, and that was quite rewarding to be able to do that, and then to bring everybody home safe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only times I think were the biggest fear moments when you were traveling. Anytime you left the compound, when you're on convoys, obviously the IEDs were the biggest things, and so there were a few areas when we left Camp Victory, we had to go to the Fallujah area, but we had to go to Camp Dogwood and another part of Iraq, and to get different equipment or to relieve equipment from other people. And we had to travel down a route which was labeled IED Alley. So, your head's on a swivel there, and, the Parker factor's there the whole way through. We didn't have any incidences, thank God. And then to get to Fallujah, and during that time was in the Fallujah areas, not too far beyond the time where the civilians that were executed by the Fallujah Iraqi soldiers at the time. So being in that whole area. And then when we left the Fallujah area, initially, again, we're a 6-person team. We had 3 vehicles, so we had to join other people's convoys. But we were told the night before we were convoy that we were going to go around Fallujah. But the morning of, change of plans, we're going right through the center, right through town, and people walking the streets, and getting the glares and the stares and everything else. And again, without incident, but it was quite nerve-wracking, but a big sigh of relief when you got to the base that you were going to. Yeah. So yeah.
Something else, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was the one time that I didn't tell her till I think I got home. We were close to coming home. I think just about a week or so before coming home. Had some of the Iraqi soldiers try to overrun our base, which they didn't successfully. We never had to fire a weapon there, but they got close. But the regular guard people there were able to thwart that. But on our convoy from Iraq back to Kuwait, I didn't know it at the time, but our convoy ran over 400 unexploded ordnance that they didn't tell us till afterwards, which was quite upsetting, because there's a guy saying, well, we tried to tell you to go around it. Like, you have weapons, you have everything, tell us to stop, don't go this way. You didn't.
Yeah.
You allowed us to drive over it, which thank God it didn't go off.
Yeah.
And then we were able to make it through, again, make it home safe. So
And they explained that to you after you went through it?
Yes.
How'd that make you feel?
Upset.
Yeah.
Very angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
Doesn't seem right.
restraint.
Yeah. Is there is there anything else about your time in country that you'd like to talk about or bring up with us today?
I just very proud to be able to do that, to serve. Again, you joined the service initially when I served. I enlisted thinking I was just going to get college relief, right?
Yeah.
Never dreamed of getting a deployment. And actually, I was 6 months shy of retiring when we got stop lost and said, okay, now we're going to deploy. But you always have to know in the back of your mind, you signed that paper, you joined the world's greatest military, and when it's time, you're gonna fulfill and do your duty and do it well. Hopefully, do it well and come home safe. And I think that experience is, brings everything to full circle. That you're able to participate in a huge war.
Yeah.
And it's history. It's part of history, and that you're part of that, and you're able to look back at that and say, yeah, I was there, and we successfully completed our mission. We were able to endure, in some cases, unlivable, unthinkable conditions, and if you put your mind to it and you have faith and you treat people well, you can do just about anything.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud to have been able to do that and serve our country at that capacity.
Awesome. That's great advice. Great advice. So let's talk a little bit about when you came home
Yes.
and maybe your trip home and how that all kind of came together and went for you.
So once we convoyed back to Kuwait, we had to get back to our Kuwait area to get all of our gear accounted for and make sure it cleaned up and everything else. And there's custom agents, make sure we're not bringing anything home that we're not supposed to bring home and all of that stuff. And so, and getting all of our connexes that are the big shelters that you see on the back of semis that they load all your stuff on and then put on ships or trains and stuff. So doing all the inventory and all that. So that was a quite arduous process. But once we got all that done and got everything on, and then to fly back home, we flew into Bangor, Maine. To go to, we deployed out of Fort Riley, Kansas. So we flew back into Bangor, Maine to catch buses to get back to Fort Riley for demobilization. But I don't remember what time of night it was. I think it was at nighttime that we were debarking the plane and going through the airport. And having the civilians welcome me home. It was pretty special.
Pretty awesome.
People you didn't know, people didn't know you, cheering, signs, welcome home, and all that. And I think about how fortunate we were because Vietnam people, they didn't have that.
Right.
So I'm very fortunate, very blessed, and appreciation is huge. Then we get back to Fort Riley to get ready to come back home, going to your doctor's appointments and making sure everything's right, you're mentally right, and everything else, and then getting the planes. Got on a plane to come back home. We flew into Kalamazoo International Airport, small little local airport, being escorted back to our unit. And I cannot think of the amount of people, the thousands of people lining the streets all the way back to our armory to welcome us home. And then when you finally get to see your loved ones back home, and And then I see my wife, my daughters. Our youngest daughter was in second grade when I left, and our oldest was in eighth grade and finished almost her full year of high school.
Yeah.
When I got home, and the good and bad part was I was her high school principal when I came home. So, so yeah, those would be moments I'll never forget.
Absolutely.
But I don't remember being this emotional all the other times I think about it. So, yeah, it's not too far away. It's not too deep.
Yeah.
So, but it's good.
That is good.
It is good.
Very good. So once you got home, how much longer were you in the service after that?
We got home in May, and I retired in October.
Okay.
So that's it. We're done.
We're done. Do you remember the day?
Yeah, that's right. And actually, I had our unit was offering me a promotion to re-enlist, to promote me to the rank of E7. I was like, nope, I'm done.
We're done.
I'm done. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you regret that decision?
No.
No.
No. No. I mean, obviously there's times you do miss. It's a huge part of your life.
Right.
So you miss the camaraderie. I miss being in the uniform, and I miss the the respect that others give you when they see you in uniform. I do miss that, but I don't miss all the other parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't remember what the rest of that question was, but I don't know.
You did perfect.
Okay.
You did perfect. Was it pretty? How was the readjust period from when you were in country to coming back to the everyday?
It was. There were times. I think, me personally, I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but I think
Sure.
it was an easier integration period, mainly to the fact that I was able to talk to my wife every day,
Yeah.
most every day, and so that relationship was there. We were still able to connect and talk about what's going on in our everyday life.
Yeah.
I think one of the more difficult family adjustments was, I don't know if it was for her or for me, I don't know who it was more difficult for, but during that time I was gone, she was in charge
Yeah.
of the kids and the discipline and the schedules and everything else, and now bringing me back into the mix and trying to relinquish some of the control.
Mhm.
And my rules are different at the time, and so working that out, which obviously we're able to do. We're still together.
That's good. Yeah.
39. It'll be 39 years this year. So yeah. And getting back into the civilian rules and regulations, and I think the first couple 4th of Julys were a little tough.
Yeah.
Just back to hearing the booms and the bangs, and some cars backfiring now and again. You get to gun shy a little bit, and I don't know. I think this is the reason. I don't think she will think it's the reason, but I wouldn't say that I necessarily have road rage. But I don't like getting behind somebody else. I don't like getting stuck behind somebody else, because when you were in a convoy, if it wasn't somebody you knew, that could have been a trap.
Yeah.
So I have to get around, and if I can't get around, I get anxious.
Yeah.
Even to this day, I don't like to be behind somebody else.
Sure.
So yeah.
Sure. So you think your time in service has affected you a little bit that way?
Oh,
then?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It has to, right?
Right. Yeah.
But you learn to adapt, and you work through it. So I think that was some of the hardest things, I think.
Mhm. Was there anything that you, during your entire military career, was there anything that you learned that you use now in your day-to-day life?
Not so much now that I'm retired now, so I'm learning how to relax more and to give things up. But I think my experience in the military creates some of the best of times and some of the worst of times, and being able to navigate through that. But I think without the military experience, the discipline and the leadership that I've gained throughout my time there. It helps develop who you are as a person. I mean, it's all these experiences develop your being and how you treat people, how you view the world, and I believe personally, faithfully, in that we are put on this earth to serve others. So I did that through the military. I did that through my time in education, and still trying to find that purpose in the servant mode in my retired life. And I do that now through volunteering with United Way, with Harbor Hospice, different boards. I'm on the Oceana County Veterans Affairs Board and Community Foundation Board, and just other ways that you still contribute in helping people in any ways that you can.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. Is there anything that you'd like to add today to the conversation that we haven't talked about? Excuse me.
I just think this is a very great process that United Way and the Library of Congress and I don't know who all other is involved with this process, but it's just a very cool way for people to tell their stories and for their legacies to carry on.
Absolutely.
One of the things I think I regretted initially is when I first got home is I gave a lot of my things away. I didn't want them anymore. And at the time, I didn't have grandkids, didn't think about grandkids, like, I could have given that, I could have given that, or the stories. And some people don't have the grandkids or whatever to share their stories with or things, and this is a way that a story can live on. And after I am gone, my kids, my great-grandkids, my great-great-grandkids, you know, what did Papa do in the service? What was his military experience like? And to be able to find that and beyond there. Or maybe some of my friends that I've lost or lost touch with, and maybe we can reconnect some way through that over time. So, yeah, just very humbled and appreciative for the opportunity to tell the story,
Nice.
to share the story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you much. So a little bit to your point, you're talking about grandkids and that, you know, and years from now, your grandkids are going to be able to watch this.
Yes,
Okay. And so are other people.
yes.
If there's anything that you could tell them 100 years from now, what would you like to say?
Freedom's not free. There's a cost. Somebody has to pay the cost. Not everybody is called to pay that cost. I know there's some people who feel bad that they weren't able to serve or they couldn't serve or for whatever reason, and I'd like to let them know that that's okay. That wasn't your calling, it wasn't your point, it wasn't your mission. But for those who were able to, it cost somebody. We were able to fortunately bring our whole unit home, no fatalities, but from the beginning of time when civilization's been at war for a cause, for freedom's sake, for the right to religion, the right to choose, the right whatever, there's a cost to that, and somebody's going to step up and pay that cost, and it's a large portion of the people who have the fortitude to do so. Some may say it takes courage. I don't think it necessarily takes courage, but it takes commitment and the ability to do that, and you'll find the courage along the way. So just thank you to those who were able to and chose to serve in this capacity, and thank you to those whose life it cost for that purpose. Vietnam, World War I, World War II, Korea, all the conflicts that weren't able to make it home. Just want to thank them and their families for doing that, and to my brothers and sisters in arms who I served with. Thank you for the opportunity to serve with them and for our country. I'm proud to do so.
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your story.
And I
That
guess
was
I guess I have to
amazing.
thank my mom.
Yeah, all goes back to
So
mom.
Mom, I don't think she'll appreciate that thank you, but it was all meant to be.
Yeah.
And so it was all part of the big plan, and so she
It
might
was.
not think it was, but I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Scott, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All set?
Awesome.